Welcome to the Trade Brigade Nightly Routine. Here we go. Looks like a pretty decent day here on the S&P's closing at the highs, upper bound of the weekly expected move, checking in on the hourly chart, any level updates to bring. Total disregard for this previous left side peak over here. We can remove that and just get a better sense for what's going on. I think this is fine for now. All-time high is where it needs to be. Let's move forward to the NASDAQ side of the market. Could certainly see a strong day here as well. More interested in watching the NASDAQ for a potential follow-through day that has to happen on day 4 or beyond of the rally attempt. So this is day 1, day 2, day 3. Tomorrow is 4. Seems to me that the NASDAQ could check back in for a higher low and then get the follow-through day on day 5 or beyond. And the reason being is primarily, NVIDIA rallied to highs. Amazon is on highs. Bezos is selling, I think, $8 billion or $4 billion worth. In the after hours, it's currently gapping down. You can see Google rallied to highs here, and Meta had a really impressive day as well. Did I skip Microsoft? If I did, Microsoft also rallied to highs. Nonetheless, I think the recipe is for a pullback or a resting bar in those Mag 7s, and that'll take care of the Qs here. Looking at the hourly chart, though, to refine some of the levels that are in play. This gap is mostly closed, but 699, not really key anymore now that that gap is not doing much for us there. I'm just going to remove that. That'll stay because it's a multi-day low. It's still technically a sliver of unfilled gap. Just make this yellow like that. That's fine. And this is fine. I like the remainder of the levels. You could really, if you want to split hairs, call something out in here around the 695.15 spot. Something like that I wouldn't say is insane. So we'll let that be. Let's move forward. IWM, strong day over here in small caps. Primary thing that happened is a break of the trend channel. No real update to the levels, but certainly following through, helping the market in the upward direction. Just double checking some of the core list names, and then we will get into the scanner here. NVIDIA, any level updates? This still looks good. I like this level. No problems. I like this as is. Jumping on over to Apple. Kind of a disappointing close here. I thought a close over VWAP intraday would have been a little bit more compelling. Here's the 5-minute chart. If this rally could have stuck closed here, I think we could have had some ability for, a hammer that then resolved higher tomorrow. It's not really in play here, so we'll see where we open. 50 SMA reclaim for something along those lines would be a decent idea, but for now, just kind of letting it sit and don't really have a ton of level updates. Let's go on over to this Microsoft. Just out in the stratosphere. One thing I will point out is that on a weekly chart, it's coming into a very key level over here. Very important. So watching that 492.25. And honestly, we're going to have to start looking for levels even further off to the left. We probably have something in here on this 511.50. Is actually like how that's a round number. Let's go over to this. Can we get 360 days hourly chart? See what we have back over here after breaching this. Yeah, that actually is spot on the money, the level. So 511.15 or 50, is the spot. It's the number to beat. This is also interesting. I would make that dimmer though, about $500. It's a psychological level for sure. So we'll pay attention to it, but that is on the table there. Let's go back to this daily chart. That works for me in terms of structure above. Levels are all set to the downside. We could technically, if you really wanted to, you could drop this lower to today's low. Let's call that about 475. Let's just make that adjustment like that. And we'll keep moving here. Let's go to Amazon. Gap up to all-time highs. Again, pulling back in the after hours. Thanks, Bezos, for the sells, but no real level updates. Google. This could be a potential fade here coming into tomorrow. I think Meta is better up against the 50 SMA, but, pretty impressive up move, some kind of fade. It did reclaim the 50 with very little hesitation, obviously gap and go today. Is that daily chart looking? Yeah, I think we just let it be, to be honest, in terms of levels. Broadcom, we know this is chop slop in the range. Meta, I think this is a short tomorrow. Primarily interested in something along these lines. I know that looks crazy, but hear me out on the hourly. Huge rally off of one of the weaker gap downs from the Mag 7 names, the hyperscalers, and this is like, quote unquote, a hyperscaler. It's like, are we or are we not selling excess compute? Mr. Zuckerberg doesn't really have a clear answer. So spending with ad revenue going down, this is the one to pick on. Look above and fail. There it is. That's that same thing I just drew. Left, head, right. under a neckline. Nice knowing you. So I think Meta is a name to pick on for tomorrow. Levels seem fine in here. No need to update any numbers. It's going over to this MU. These are a little bit more confusing, these charts. Let's go back to a daily. You're still in a downtrend, right? You've got these lower highs, and you're coming off the lowest low in here. So I don't really know if I am buying into the like, okay, everything's fine in the memory complex currently. If we go to the hourly chart, levels are a little iffy as well. I think if there's an 8 EMA reclaim, something along these lines, you might have some thin structure retracement there, but I'm not jumping for joy to go out there and start buying MU, you know, unless anybody bought it overnight over here. Basically, that was on the capitulation Citadel situation, right? Let's go over to this Tesla. Any level updates on this before we get into the scanner? We're almost there through the core list. Anything to do over here? No real level updates. I like things kind of the way they are. I'm going to let that be for now until it builds out better and stronger structure. Let's jump on into this JP Morgan. Structure still seems fine. You could probably map out this high in here if you wanted a little trigger line. That's fine. Round numbers only. We know this. And we make that gray. Great. So that's there on JPM if you really want buying for continuation out of that. AMD, how are we doing on this? Earnings are tomorrow after the close, so there's really not a lot for me to do in terms of new positions to initiate, but yeah, levels are getting a little sloppy in here, a little hard to distinguish what's what. There's definitely a little shelf in here worth paying attention to. I just don't know, why bother if it's just going to have earnings gap tomorrow. So we'll put the level on, and that's at 492.25, but needs some work, this chart. Not fully on board with what it's doing. Maybe this level opens the range up a little bit, towards these lows. That would be fine. Something like this. That looks all right to me. And then we just continue along to Intel, possibly one of the weaker names, looking at the 3-month chart. Still on a downtrend here under all key moving averages. Once again, like MU, could this be a higher low? You rally into the 20 and it's shortable at 100, the huge overhead supply. Honestly, I'd prefer that short versus just shorting against the 8, if I'm being honest. Right? It'd be very similar to AMD Friday of last week. That was a beautiful short here right off the 50-day. So Intel, we'll see if it wants to get into that 100 level. So a little bit more upside, short near the 20 against 100, the big overhead supply, and we'll see if we can't go from there. Quick buzz through the core list of company sectors, or I should just forget that. It's just the 11 sectors for the S&P. I want to do some chart maintenance over here and make sure there's no major levels to update. Let's go to an hourly quickly. This is fine at 59. I'm not really concerned about that. XLV has that overhead gap. This is fine. Consolidation through here makes sense to me. XLF looks great for an all-time high breakout. XLI, nice reclaim today. XLP, this is really still just a range over here. I'm not overly worried about those levels yet. Utilities breaking the range low, that's fine. Real estate holding this key support, no problems. Mag 7, the gap has been indicated. We're all set there. This probably needs a little bit of work. Let's go down to the hourly and take a closer look at this. Is that a 930 bar? It is. That's interesting. Well, we'll drop this 69 level high in, and we'll just minimize its importance like that. And the reason being is I still care more about are we or are we not accepting inside of this prior overhead supply. And that, of course, is 68.20s. Moving along to materials, lightest weight sector, midpoint of the range. Fine, don't care about that too much. This chart's like Swiss cheese. This thing is so gnarly. This XLC, I mean, just all over the place with the gaps. I guess to be fairly on top of the charts, we can make this yellow and, call out that, yes, indeed, there is a gap here, but can we get away with 40 cents? Probably. There's a gap there. It's like Swiss cheese. This is just such a brutal chart. I mean, really, gap down, gap up, holds, big gap down, immediate rally back, gap up in there. It's just all over the place. This is gnarly stuff. So we'll see if this can resolve higher, but for now, that's kind of the levels, or those are the levels that I would be paying attention to. So XLY needs a little bit of gap love, it looks like. Let's come in here and do this. Just make that 50 cents is fine, yellow. And then, of course, we come into this gap low as well, something like that at 50 works as well. And we have our maintenance complete here. Generally, we're still just inside this balance range. So I like the fact that we're making more of an equal high rather than this, which could have been a lower high, which just means if the market does pull back, there's plenty of room to go higher, low, and remain constructive, basically, for upside. Going over the IGV, it looks like we need a little bit of gap action over here. Just make that like this. And there we go. And then this probably just becomes yellow as a whole. That's fine at 40 cents. And there we go. Let's jump on. And so this looks good, right? This is no doubt about it. Software is one of the leading themes right now as the market comes off of this low. XLK looks pretty darn good, staying above that 175 spot. Looking at an hourly chart real quick, I think the level still, it's okay. I think what I would do in this situation is a little bit of maintenance on the chart here. Let's go dim. And you could argue like, you're splitting hairs here, whatever. It doesn't really matter. That's fine. I like to be a little bit more particular about it either is or isn't doing the right thing against a key level. So these three equal lows kind of must hold now that we've woken back up above that, over that 175 spot. So that's fairly straightforward in my estimation. And we continue along into SMH. Looks fine. Checking in on this. Yeah, this hourly looks good over that 545.50 spot. Something like that looks pretty compelling. We'll see if it can actually do it tomorrow. It's probably going to have to be led by the memory names, not necessarily NVIDIA, which is a bit extended. Here is DRAM, and you can see just how similar this looks to your SMH in terms of that exact same setup we were just referencing, something like that, over this thin structure high. It's the same trade. So that's that. This probably goes like that. And again, I know that this is like, oh my goodness, so many levels all over the place, but there's been some pretty gnarly action out there. The rotations inside of the technology sector, if you will, it's been pretty critical that you have some sort of a roadmap for these things. So that is a quick look through the core list names. Let's jump on into the scanner now. And let's start with our first scan there. I'm going to make this the universe focus list here, and we'll just open up a scratch pad to load in anything that we need to write up. There we go. Let's filter and ensure that this is going by liquid leader. And let's drift through. Okay. So we're just looking for any compelling charts with tight daily bars that are worth paying attention to. This SpaceX, very impressive. I mean, from absolutely rinsed to finally getting a little bit of bullish engulfing action, opening on a gap down and closing over prior day's high. Earnings tomorrow, so there's nothing to really do with it, but I thought it was a notable character change there. Dell, one of the leaders, this remains on the list as a top priority, so no real arguing with that. We'll just write Dell remains a top priority. Okay. GEV looks like a short against those moving averages. I don't know if I want to be shorting while the market's trying to gain some traction here. Robinhood kind of turned into a laggard, so much for the reversal of this trend. Now we have a head and shoulders. We're well below the neckline. I think you're looking at lower highs under the moving average stack, so not interested. ServiceNow, tough day, not interested. This Reddit reclaiming the earnings gap high, that could be something. Let's maybe just make note of this Reddit prior day high here. If we could stay over 150, 150s and build out a setup, that wouldn't be half bad. Or like, another possibility is tomorrow we open below, kind of hammer out for an inside bar. If we close green, let's say, you could get it over that hammer high and have risk here or something of that nature to close more of this gap above. That could be interesting. That could be an idea. Let's just make sure we have the gap on there as yellow, and then we'll just kind of do one of these down here as well. All right, perfect, fantastic. Let's just say Reddit, watch the earnings gap fade. Let's continue along. SoFi with the stick today. Needs tight action, but really impressive up day. CrowdStrike's great. Let's just clear this up. Needs to tighten up if it's going to offer you new entry. Got long Palo Alto today. That's probably going to be on this list somewhere. But cyber looking really great as a theme right now. This ANET looks just killer headed into earnings. This is tomorrow after the close, so not going to type it up, but bullish engulfer. Well, actually, yeah, let's go ANET, bullish engulfer. Worth keeping on list. Okay, don't need a period there. Let's continue along. No, thank you. Snow has continued to act as a leader. It's one of the more successful breakouts we've seen in this little leg higher. So got to make note of that character change. UiPath looks great on a weekly chart over here. Look at this, right? I mean, come on now. 50-week moving average, same thing as your daily 200 SMA, basically. This green line in here, nice little doji today. If this could tighten up over 1250, still very interested there. So let's say path, tighten up over 12.5 and still interested. Great. Keep putting periods, don't need that. Shop has earnings, but I did think this 50 SMA test was pretty compelling. If you go out to a slightly higher time frame, it's building out a nice base in here. So Shopify is interesting. Go back to this monthly. Datadog still looks great. Earnings, though, this week. Tough to do something with that. Roblox, no thanks. This HPE is just, please don't go without me. It's gapping up in the after hours, but afters, please don't go yet. Give me the inside today. Ideally, this would check back, do something that looks like that, and then go and let everybody in. I don't know if it's going to do it, but that is the ideal outcome. It is gapping up. You can see it here, 5140s in the after hours. So where's that put us here, roughly? Little gap up. Still a very interesting chart. Need to keep it on radar. HIMS, nice bounce back, but not really a setup. Net strong inside day. A check back through the moving average stack, something that looks like this, and then higher could be interesting. Oops, what am I doing here? There we go. Let's keep moving with FIG. No setup there. Moderna. Don't hate it post earnings, honestly. Let's say mRNA. Potential for a foxhole setup. Okay. Trump tasers gapping up, huh? Not bad. What else? Looking for tight setups here. Guardant Health with the gap close. Not bad. The ZS continues to look phenomenal. I am just noting that it's a laggard for that cybersecurity space. No thanks on Wayfair. Affirm. Good. What else is this? IoT weekly base, I think. Yeah, not bad. Not bad on a weekly chart, but not quite doing anything interesting yet on a daily. Higher low over 3550 is not terrible. Let's keep moving. GoDaddy. I got one of their commercials on YouTube today. It was kind of funny. They used to have some gnarly ones, right? Back in the day. It's Regen. Not bad, but if I'm not mistaken, this is a biotech, an individual biotech. Let me check on another app here. What is it? RGEN. Global life sciences company that develops and commercializes bioprocessing technology and systems to support the manufacturing of biologic drugs, including yada, yada, yada. So yes, it's a biotech. Biotech, meh, volume. I don't know what the weekly chart. Yeah, I'm not touching this. No thanks. Not even on a watch list. Say no to drugs, kids. What else is going on here? Ooh, what was that? Man H. Looked good. It looked like a nice peg setup, but so far a weak close today on a strong market. That's no good. What else? Cordycept Therapeutics. Sounds like another biotech. Let's double check over here. This is CORT. CORT. Why is it not bringing it up? Court. Huh. Is this broken? Shouldn't be. CORT. Yeah, it doesn't even come up. CORT concept, Cordycept Therapeutics. Wow, that's wild. Had to type in the full name. Pharmaceutical company focused on discovering, developing, commercializing medications that address severe endocrine, metabolic, oncologic, yada, yada, yada disorders. Okay. So it's definitely a biotech. Pharma company. No thanks. Builder's First Source. Nope. That's pretty tough with interest rates up. Umbrella. They had a huge catalyst on Friday. Inside day today. Not terrible. Another sideways day. Let's say AMBA. Another inside / sideways day, and we may have a punch. Good. Okay. What else in here is interesting? Wingstop, no thanks, downtrend. All these will be in downtrends now that liquid leader is negative here. So sometimes there are decent setups that come from downtrends, but oftentimes you want to find the strongest stocks in the strongest uptrends at the highs. But always worth taking that full tour. Making sure you leave no stone unturned. Steel names look pretty interesting here. This Cleveland Cliffs, I don't know if they will hit the radar through this scan, but let me just quickly go to STLD. And that looks pretty good. You can see how that's similar against the moving averages. NUE, Nucor, looks pretty darn good. This one's actually maybe the best. This new over those 2-day highs, not bad in there. So I'd pay attention to that. We got there from CLF. Let's keep going. Solstice Advantage, trying to find a little bit of a base down here. I'm not a buyer at this point, but trying to find a floor is interesting. Big volume on First Solar. Wow. Solar's waking up. I mean, terrible. I would not be a buyer into a flattening 50 SMA, but really an interesting wake up off the low there. And when it trends, it does tend to trend nicely for a week or so. So let's maybe just put that on the back burner, Solar. Say FSLR, insane volume today, back burner monitor situation. Okay, let's go back to that 3-month. MongoDB, wow, right back up to the breakout level. This was acting like HPE in the very beginning. It got a little bit weaker through here, but that's a pretty impressive reclaim of the entire moving average stack. It's not ready for anything yet, but that's probably worth a comment. Needs to tighten up, but impressive reclaim. Come on. Okay. Looks more like a short on FTA Aviation. This, for what it's worth, is the turbine engines to power data centers play. So a little look above and fail into the 200 and maybe even the 50. So FTAI, if we need shorts, if asterisk asterisk, we need shorts. This has a declining 50-day just above and is generally weaker than the broad market. When I said generally weaker than the broad market, I'm just looking at a slightly higher time frame perspective. Breaking this under the 200-day, just a little bit more, a little bit weaker. It never really did anything impressive out of this consolidation back over here into the early stages of 26. Let's keep moving. Kind of looking for tight charts in here. Earnings on Rigetti, quantum names are all going to be in sympathy to that. I mean, that looks like a short if I ever saw one myself. Aggressive sell side volume, little counter trend right to the moving averages. Sayonara. Modine. Sure, data center cooling. Is that come and gone as a theme? That's another if we need shorts situation. Wow. T3 very volatile. Nice tightening up action here on BMNR. That's Ethereum. Tom Lee. I mean, this is a reverse peg, technically. Should call it a WEG, weak earnings gap or something like that. Hut 8 still looks good. Earnings tomorrow morning, if I'm not mistaken. Not in the afternoon. It should be in the morning. What else is in here? Again, trying to find a floor. It's just a matter of like, how do we get involved? It's not ready yet. It's under the 200. It's under the 50. It's too premature, in my opinion, to try to get bullish on that stuff. Same thing with the Sienna. I mean, optics kind of went today. Ondas. This is a huge spot for Ondas. Look at this chart. Yearly. Huge spot for Ondas at 845. I could envision a look above and fail. I'm going to write that in as a potential short. Potential short against the declining 50-day or just the 845 overhead supply. Again with the periods. There we go. Let's keep ripping through. These will get more liquid as we get towards the bottom of the list, just based on the way that this is filtered. Let's go back to that 3-month. AXTI, you can see I've already have the alert here for potential shorts at the 50. Coin. Oh, that's hideous. That is some downright ugly action. Gap down on earnings. The market goes out to basically make almost an equal high in the S&P. You know, obviously you could use the NASDAQ and say it's not as good, but can't even take out Friday's high. And the earnings gap down. Brutal on coin. That looks terrible. Looks weak like a short. Same thing here. That looks terrible. SMCI is getting tight. I mean, I hate to say it. I don't really want to be buying it below declining 50, declining 200, but it's very tight. It's not really a setup. Maybe you could argue daily high or low, but it's not a picture-perfect setup. Doesn't really fit a playbook. Cerebrus I thought was interesting on the bullish engulfer today. Not bad, stacking some higher lows in there. It's on radar. It's not a setup here currently, but it's on radar. Nothing here. Nothing on Rocket Lab. Probably should just wipe out this drawing set. Credo, nope. Qualcomm, no thanks, I don't think. I mean, maybe an oversold bounce, but not really my cup of tea in there. CoreWeave, if we could snap into these moving averages like tomorrow, that would be really impressive for a potential short, lower high. I'd rather stick with NBIS if you're going to play data center, which I'm sure will show up here in the bottom of the list. Let me actually write that down. CRWV, keep track of the falling 250-day moving averages for potential shorts. Short this, not NBIS. Oracle, nice turn. Nice turn. Was really compelling on Thursday. Kicking myself for not taking that trade on Thursday. It was a beautiful 5-minute orb. Just look at it real quick. Would you just look at it? It's right here. See these two hammers back to back over the key level, breaks and goes. Really nice. Really, really nice. I just didn't pull the trigger on it. Look at how sloppy these things are. That's so bad. So bad. No trend there. STX, garbage. WDC, garbage. No trend here. This is like Swiss cheese. Bloom Energy, I'd like to see it firm up. Is this the inverted head and shoulders? Left, head, right? Maybe. Needs some work. Needs some work. There's that NBIS. I wouldn't short this one. I know it's at a flattening 50, but I would tend to give NBIS the benefit of the doubt. It seems like it's the leader of that data center space. I'd rather short CoreWeave. Intel we covered already. AMD we covered. SanDisk and MU. SanDisk earnings on Wednesday after hours. Still seems like a downtrend to me. Call me crazy. I know a lot of people are trying to find the low in this thing, but not quite sold on it. On the idea that memories are going to put in a major low and go back to highs. Software just seems stronger than hardware at this point. So that is this scan. Let's we got one more scan to go through, which is this one. This is going to filter by slightly less dollar volume constraints. So these will be like super, I'm not going to say like super thin, but super performance boosters. Put these on only if there's like not enough to do here, which to me it seems like there's plenty we wrote down. Give that a second to load. All right. FedEx Freight, newer IPO, or spinoff, I should say. Frog, this gave everybody a hard time up here, so a little less interested. Dave, not bad. Payment processor, right? Let me double check that. Dave, payment processor. I'm thinking of, what was the name of the cybersecurity? Was it Devin? No, not cybersecurity. The AI agent, Devin, your coding agent. This is Dave, though. Digital banking platform, tight on cash flow, mobile first app, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. Looks okay. What's the weekly doing? Wow, really nice weekly. I mean, heck. Cup with handle on the weekly. Not bad. Over a rising 10 week, which is just the 50-day. Looks pretty good, actually. See what earnings does to it into the end of this week. This thing's so beautiful. This comp, take a look at this thing on a slightly higher time frame. Really nice in here. Slightly lower in the dollar volume department, but pretty nice chart. Almost a textbook cup and handle. Earnings tomorrow. Earnings tomorrow on this Compass. It's a software platform for real estate agents, so it does fit the software theme. Still, I'm going to write that down. Comp. I just need to get through earnings. Okay. Alaska Airlines, no thanks. Let's go back to this monthly. GitLab I thought was a great break today. I know I just said let's go back to the monthly, but only to go back to the higher time frame. I thought this looks great. This looks fantastic. If we could check in for a higher low and go and just generally stay over this 3490s, 35 spot, looks pretty good. So let's say GTLB still looks good. Okay. Let's go back down to the time frame now. Good. Chime waking up. Earnings, yeah, a little bit of a earnings dilemma here. But is this like first flag? Did we break a trend line? I'm not a huge fan of trend lines. We did break trend. We're over the 50. Oops. Over the 50, the 200. Overall, the key moving averages. Could be an interesting start to a new trend. I thought this looked really nice back here. Tightening up with this little higher low right there. Just fell apart, obviously, but we'll see where we go with this Chime. It's a newer IPO. It's worth keeping in the back pocket. What else? HBM, Hub Day Materials. It's a nice little base in here. Higher lows. Weekly chart. Sure. Weekly base in here off the rising 50. A little choppy. This is a nice string of price action here. This is nice here. This is very headache-esque. Pain in the butt to hold that, but it's got a decent trend through here, decent trend through here. Very low headache. Not many tests of the 20, just kind of gets up and goes. Hub Day Materials here. A new base to start working from. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's underneath the declining 50-day still, so we'll kind of make note of that. But HBM, which is not high bandwidth memory, by the way. Common term these days, but let's say HBM. Minerals. And trying to hold all the key moving average. Stack just needs 50 SMA reclaim. Okay, just making note that earnings are in the rearview mirror. Car, wow, Avis budget. Still trading, huh? Hasn't gone to zero yet. This was nice back over here. Not so much anymore. A little loose. Needs to tighten up. So AVAV is interesting. The only reason I say that is because of what's happening in the defense ITA. You know, a lot of this is driven by your RTX and your LMTs of the world, and perhaps, I don't know, Northrop Grumman's been a laggard, I think. Yeah, it's still doing the thing. Boeing had a really nice day today, right? So all those are waking up, but your drones, your slightly faster, more snappy, so to speak, theme-relevant names, this thing's been crushed, right? But is it going to wake back up is the question. AVAV, Ondas is part of the drone theme, if you will. This one looks the best, and we noted that down as a potential short, so for what that's worth. Let's go back over here. We were on AVAV, which means Fermi's next. Fell apart, was interested in that inside 3-bar play, but no dice. BlackBerry, these are tight bars relative to its prior trend, but I think everybody just kind of forgot about this one. Form, no good. Jeez, must have some really old levels down here in the 5s for this CAPR, no thanks. Probably a biotech. AEHR is interesting, the bullish engulfer today, right at the 50 it parked itself. We'll see where we go from there. FCell, no thanks. You could argue it's a daily high or low, but Friday, meh. Why so weak? Why are we under Friday's close? We want relative strength. Earnings on Cypher, little sympathy to Hut anyways. Space names kind of got a bid today, that's fine. Coherent, laser, or optic names, fine. And app, nothing to really do with that. So that's it. That's a quick buzz through the watch list scans in terms of the names that need to be potentially added to the universe focus list. Let's just go through these real quick and see if there's any additions or subtractions. Dell still on the list. Now, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt for a daily high or low, but that's ugly action today. CrowdStrike stays on, ANET stays on, Snowflake stays on, Path stays on, Shop. We'll watch for earnings there. Datadog stays, HP absolutely, Net's good. Workday, I got to remove this. As much as that was a tight inside day here on Friday, there's no action item into the 200, so gone. Moderna stays on the list. It's a little foxhole under the 50. RCL I thought was great. Very symmetrical, right? If you just take this left side and mirror it to this right side, it's basically the same chart in reverse, right? I mean, how perfect is that? So perfect doesn't mean you get paid, but it is it's trading very symmetrically, and we'll see if we can't get some inside days and tighten up and go. Trump tasers, I feel like it's just gone. It made the move. Very tough to get involved in, and a huge ATR for this price point on a stock. Amgen, probably going to remove unless it comes back on via earnings, so remove for now. Okta, I think that there's some better ones. I think, Palo Alto is better. I think CrowdStrike is better, so may or may not. We'll take it off for now. If it sets up, we'll put it back on. I think this is still forming a flag. It's got a lighter ATR, this GM, so we'll let that be for now. Mercado Libre is very interesting. It's just got to get through earnings. The reason I think it's interesting, look at your weekly. Inverted head and shoulders, anybody? Left, head, right, tightening up the right-hand side. Just, right through that previous pivot, 1900, a big psychological number. Here's your daily chart, nice base. So Melly's pretty cool here. I'll leave that on the list. Zscaler we covered already. That stays. NetApp looks great over that 176. Expedia Group's got to get through earnings. I think some of these travel and leisure stocks, which I believe is PEJ, no? PEJ. Leisure and entertainment. Yeah, I mean, they look similar, right? They look similar. That EXPE, excuse me. Airbnb fits the same group theme. We'll see if the chart wants to firm up. It does have earnings. It would need to produce like a hammer in here. Look below and fail to 8 and then higher maybe. Affirm, we literally just talked about that. That's fine. 10B with the sneaky setup here. Gonna have to find a name for this, like the middle finger or something, because that's what that is. It's a big old middle finger. I know some people call it the oops, but this is different. Like, it's a very specific thing that happened here. It's gap down, recovers inside day, over the moving average, inside bar, up and out. And there was honestly a nice entry on this intraday 5-minute opening range, just shoot right through the high, pretty low cortisol, drift higher into the afternoon. So 10B, nice. I don't want to trade oil and gas names, but this dyno is pretty hard to ignore. Twist with the huge, this could also be that middle finger pattern, basically, if we get an inside bar or something like that and then go up and out. Probably going to remove this from the list. It's just not fast enough, and it's very choppy through here. It's not a bad base, but look at this thing. It's very choppy. No thanks. Off the list. Garmin, let's go back to that daily. Nice. I mean, no complaints on Garmin. This can get removed. We do have that comp already on here. Just talked about this cup and handle, right? 10x Genomics stays on, has earnings to get through. GitLab still good. Oscar looks great. Oscar still looks really good here, so let's just write that one in. OSCR looks great over the MA stack and as a bull flag. Good. Liquidia, it's not bad. It's a, if I'm not mistaken, it's a biotech name, LQDA. Yeah, biopharma for rare cardiopulmonary diseases. Okay. It's above my pay grade. Probably remove, honestly. Dynatrace failed breakout today. Okay. Probably remove this as well. Avantor. Is this also biotech? AVTR. Life sciences technology company, so yes. Fastly breaking out of this base today. That was pretty solid. Or Friday, and then holding today. Ring Central stays. Navin stays. No real setup here. Let's see what happens on earnings with this RVTY. Nice little breakout here. PFG. Remind me what this is, PFG? Financials, if I'm not mistaken. PFG, diversified financial services company focusing on retirement, asset management, yada yada. Okay, fine. Really slow. I'm gonna remove that. Not a high enough ATR. H&R Block. Get your taxes done. Nice hammer. Didn't really trigger in terms of an actionable setup. We'll see if it firms up here in the range though. Hyatt. 200 SMA hold inside bar. Pass. Remove. There's that new for steel. Cleveland Cliffs for steel. Ford. If this can make like a red to green move back over 1450, that wouldn't be half bad. Strategy probably goes away. Cerebras stays on, and Oracle probably stays on, allowing that to tighten up. All right, so that is the end of day routine for what's today, Monday, August 3rd. These ideas will, be worth a watch. It doesn't mean not everything that I wrote down is actionable, right? This is where discretion comes into play and understanding what setups are good and what setups are bad, what the market context is tomorrow. That's where all of that comes into play. But it seems like there's like enough things on the list here where, we're going to have some things to keep eyes on for tomorrow, especially as we head into the potential of a QQQ follow through day. Again, probably not tomorrow, noting that, it's very possible Amazon pulls back here on the Bezos selling, let's just say Meta could pull back here off the 50. This is probably my top short tomorrow as a watch. And then we also have Microsoft, right? Could use a little bit of a pullback, and Google could use a little bit of a pullback. If these names pull back, you're probably not going to get a follow through day in the Qs of, 1% up day on an increase in volume from the prior day. You're probably going to get a resting day. That would be ideal. And then we get a follow through day on like Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So that's it. That is the end of day routine. Once again, today is Monday, August 3rd. This could be used as a reference. This could be literally used for tomorrow. I don't know when anybody will see this. I'm not going to promote this video. I'm just going to upload it quietly to the video charts channel and go from there. So have a great rest of the trading week. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.